Okay, so we took a little break, and we're going to be coming back here. So this is going to be SKT versus KT Game 2 playoffs for this summer, this 2017 summer. What a great year. Full of interesting things. So KT won the first game, and it was mostly because of the draft and the fact that SKT was not prepared to use their draft, which wasn't as strong in team fights in the early due to the fact that KT had Shen ult and Kalista and the Kalista ult. SKT did choose not to fight any objectives. And the only objective that SKT managed to get was First Blood Tower in top lane, and then they got one bot lane tower eventually, I believe. And as far after that, KT just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And due to the fact that SKT had a late game team fight comp and they were behind, they weren't able to get far enough late game for their composition to be good. And we did see that it was there were two 1-3-1 comps coming out from both teams. And it's definitely really interesting. They're my favorite type of compositions, the 1-3-1s. So maybe we'll see some more in this series. Mine, just light my cigarette. Mm-hmm. All right. So SKT starts with a Shen ban. So this is obviously targeted last game. We don't want UKT having that much pressure in the early game, because if we're going to continue to play late game, because that's what we're comfortable with, then we're going to go ahead and take it away from you, because we're not going to prioritize it first pick, and we have a feeling that you may prioritize it in your first rotation. KT goes ahead and bans out the Zac. They're not even going to play games with that. SKT bans the Rakan again. SKT really hates Rakan. I think Rakan is an amazing champion, so like I understand. I understand why SKT hates Rakan, but they really hate Rakan because SKT has Rakan permabanned for all of playoffs. Then KT goes ahead and says, "All right, we don't want Faker on Lucian still. We don't want to see that." And then we see the Elise ban, which is pretty standard. Don't need to explain that one. And then we see the Cassiopeia ban. So we have lots of things on the table. We have Maokai, Kalista, Galio. I was just about to say that. Galio is on the table, and SKT have locked in Galio for Faker. KT go ahead and they grab Kalista, and looks like they're going to be grabbing Gragas too. Gragas is really strong. He's definitely my favorite jungler, purely because, you know, you can have pressure in the early and pressure in the mid, and you can be a super tank, and you have lots of CC. You have the Flash E that's so strong. Definitely a very high priority, tier 1 if not top tier. SKT respond with the Tristana, so that fast can end laning phase. High pressure on First Blood Tower, definitely love that First Blood Tower. 550 extra gold, and they go ahead and they grab Maokai. We don't know if that Maokai is going to be in jungle or the top. So KT have to think carefully about what they're picking before the second ban rotation. They go ahead and pick Thresh. They were like, all right, we were really good with this lane last game. We were really strong with it. Let's continue playing it. And I mean, no need to talk about how useful Thresh is, since he is definitely the key playmaker support and has been the key playmaker support for years. So they banned the Alistar, saying that we didn't like dealing with the Alistar because he's so tanky and he's so annoying. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. SKT taking time on their second ban. Go ahead and they ban the Trundle. Same thing that they've been prioritizing. KT may respond. Well, SKT has yet to pick a top laner, and they've yet to pick their support. So they could ban out a top laner. There's lots of top laners in the table right now. But no, they're going to pinch support. They say, SKT, you're really good at getting that late game. You're really good with those late game team fights and even controlling the mid game team fights. So we're going to take away Taric as one of the key team fight supports, since he gives invincibility to everyone. And SKT goes ahead and they ban Corki, saying that mid game siege power is too strong for us. We don't want to deal with that this game. And Faker probably doesn't want to lane against it either. KT go ahead and they pick the Cho'Gath because it's still on the table. I think this is Cho'Gath top lane. Gnar is still open for that, but Trundle is not. Trundle is not open for that. So SKT probably going to pick Gnar. Hovering the Jarvan, which is not bad because Jarvan can burst Cho'Gath pretty quickly and has the mobility, so he isn't so weak to Cho'Gath's very slow spells. And they're hovering Tahm Kench, which they actually brought out Tahm Kench support yesterday, and it worked very well for them. They were very good at their map rotations. They were very good at just appearing out of nowhere. KT hovering Gangplank mid. KT locks in Gangplank mid into Galio. Now, Gangplank is actually a Galio counter. That is what people have been using him for, and that's when he usually comes out to show himself as really abusing Galio in laning phase, since Galio is melee. He doesn't have that much dueling potential, and Gangplank has sustain, and he has high damage, and Gangplank likes to farm early, and Galio can't really stop Gangplank from farming early. So moving on to the lane by lane matchup. So Jarvan's actually going to go in the jungle. I actually talked about this in one of our previous videos, actually in the playoffs, the LCK playoffs, about how Jarvan is better for clear time and better for ganking. So they actually are going to move Maokai to the top lane, and Maokai versus Cho'Gath, nothing's going to happen there. That's going to be an even lane. They're both going to farm. Cho'Gath actually has a little bit of advantage at level 6, just because his feast is so strong. But that's about it. So SKT also has lost mid lane. That is a lost lane. And the bot lane isn't going to be much different than last game. I would say that KT has more of an advantage in bot lane than they had last game, just because Tahm Kench doesn't offer the same hard engage that Alistar offers. But he is really good for map rotations and stuff. So SKT is going to be looking for... they're going to be looking for SKT is a really strong teamfight comp, but they're not very high damage. See, my problem is that SKT drafts Tristana, whereas like if you're going to draft Galio and Maokai and Tahm Kench, you kind of want more damage on your team. So you draft something like Kog'Maw or Twitch to really bring out the damage and bring out the abuse, and you can abuse the damage that those champions have because you have so much protection, so that they're able to get out their damage and still feel safe. Whereas KT is going to be looking for a lot of early game pressure with the Gragas. The Gragas can match the Jarvan for early game pressure, can counter gank, and can even flash E for ganks himself. So he's going to be camping. I mean, I would expect Gragas to camp bot lane, and in the early game, pre-level like 5, he can gank mid lane and try and get pawn ahead. But SKT really going for a late game Hypergary Trist. So let's see if they can play around that. This game's going to be a little bit less complicated. We do see double teleport coming out from both teams again. But you see KT has a 1-3-1, but SKT's 1-3-1 isn't very strong because these two side laners in the 1 and the 2-1 lanes don't win the lanes. Like, they're not going to beat Cho'Gath, and they're not going to beat Gangplank, especially in the mid game and especially in the late game. So I really think KT has the advantage here. Again, I don't know who wins this game, but I have a very strong fondness for KT's team comp. So we see a 5-man spread. Anything interesting about builds? We see Corrupting Potion. We see Targons on both supports. That's standard. Galio going Dark Seal just for that early laning, early wave clear. But not going to be anything too interesting. Peanut's going to be starting Wraiths, and Gragas is going to be starting Blue. Faker giving Peanut a very heavy leash, and they're giving Jarvan a super leash. So and I know that I haven't talked about this much because we haven't seen very many super leashes in LCK lately. So they're super leashing the Jarvan, where Jarvan takes all the little wraiths and he gets level 2 immediately, and then he gets the red buff, and then he can finish the last wraith, and he can actually as soon as he takes another camp, he can get level 3, and he can accelerate to level 4, or you can gank a lane early. And what's particularly interesting about this super leash is J4 at level 2 has really strong ganking potential. So with that strong ganking potential, he can actually gank level 2 while all the lanes are level 1. So let's see how Peanut paths, because he can go straight bottom lane or he can go straight mid lane. He has the choice to do either of those. Peanut does not opt for either of those, which is kind of weird to me because it doesn't like this. It means the super leash is just for getting him ahead in levels and not ahead in gank. Oh wait, no, he's going for an early gank top lane. Antara going to be not level 2. Antara's not level 2 for this gank. Peanut actually flashes out of the Smeb Q, the Cho'Gath Rupture, and Score manages to match the jungle. So this is really bad for SKT because Peanut flashed in a weird direction. Let's actually go back. Let's look at that really specifically. So the problem is Antara started moving forward on Cho'Gath here, and this said to Smeb, hey, I have some kind of advantage over you right now, even though I'm not level 2, because he needs all of this experience by himself to get level 2. Or no, he needs this, and then he needs another minion to get level 2. So had either Antara been a little bit more patient, or Peanut actually move in up here into the tri-bush or something, they could have caught Smeb more off guard. And I'm sorry for the YouTube video lagging, but I really want to see this. Okay, here it is. So why was that flash bad? All right, now we can see the whole thing. So the knockup actually ends up hitting. Why was this flash bad? Well, technically, Smeb has 2 ways to go right now. He can go this way, or he can go this way. And Peanut decided to flash this way. And this is a direct vector in the direction that Smeb can go to his tower, and now Smeb can't go, or can go this way and be unpunished. A correct flash would have been from here to here, and would have made Smeb confused, because Smeb would then not be sure on whether or not to path this way or this way, because Peanut would be the direct resultant vector, and because he's at the direct resultant vector, Smeb has no advantageous path. And if Smeb has no advantageous pathing, Peanut and Antara are going to have an easier time killing him, and may have been able to secure the kill because of that. Yeah, it's a shame that Antara was still level 1 for that. But that was the level 2 gank from Jarvan. Almost successful, but not performed correctly. So Peanut moves straight to his blue buff. He was pretty low on mana since he had to use a lot of spells for that gank there. So he's gonna go straight to blue. He might do a full clear. No, he's gonna go to Wolves. He's probably gonna end up finishing his Wraith, because he has the big Wraith to take. He's yet to do that, and that's quite a bit of gold. It's like 60 gold for him. So that's a pink ward. So he definitely has to get that before he backs. Faker already showing that Galio is not that strong in this matchup. He's already out of mana. He didn't take Corrupting Potion, so he can't really stay in lane for too long, because he needs that mana to wave clear. And he needs to be able to wave clear for Pawn to not be able to abuse him as much. Peanut taking his golems almost gets stolen. Hold on. That was so close. Wow. That was impressive. That was impressive. I mean, I feel like I would have been less impressed if Deft stole it than the fact that it was actually at like 1 HP. Because it tells me that Deft was not waiting for when he was able to kill it, or he was not waiting for when he was sure he was able to kill it. He was trying to throw Q exactly when it had low enough HP. Exactly when its HP reaches what Deft's damage value is. So I don't think they missed any minions or experience because of that, but we see a lot of teleports come out. We see Faker and Pawn both burning their teleport. We see Antara burning his teleport. And Tara actually burned his teleport for a Dark Seal and a refillable potion, which means... And Smeb hasn't backed yet, and Smeb doesn't have flash, so he's going to have to back soon, and he's probably going to be forced to use teleport back into lane. And because Antara actually backed so early and Smeb refused to back, there's going to be a time difference in when their teleports come back up. You're going to see Antara's teleport come back up maybe 10, 15, even 30 seconds before Smeb's teleport comes back up. And that's going to lead into a teleport imbalance for the game. Smeb throws out a Q. The Flash E actually comes out from Score. The silence is going on to Antara. Antara taking big damage here. The red buff is taking from Score, and he actually W's onto Score, and Score is going to be taken out after Antara pushes him into tower. So first blood given to Score, but because the first blood is going on the Gragas, it means the Gragas is getting the overall resources for that. And Maokai is actually going to continue to be even in this lane. The only thing that's allowing Cho'Gath to be ahead right now is Cho'Gath will now have an EXP advantage. although the gold will be similar. I think Antara is going to be ahead by about maybe 100, 150 gold. But you know that these minions aren't so valuable in the early game, so this difference in minions is going to be not large enough to constitute Antara being very far ahead, if ahead at all. But it doesn't mean Smeb's going to be or Smeb's going to be able to reclaim all of that gold either. So Smeb's pushing into tower. Peanut's going to go top lane and try and collect some of the CS. Mata small engage onto Bang. Lots of pings coming out from both teams. So you're already starting to see a CS lead in the mid lane, which is really weird, and because the CS lead is for Faker. So I don't know what Pawn's doing in this lane, because I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I am told by my players that the Galio versus Gangplank matchup is heavily favored by Gangplank. This is not a matchup that I have personally played, at least, and if I might have played it, but I haven't played it recently. But to my knowledge, it's favored for Gangplank. So I don't know what the CS lead for Faker is. Or maybe it's just Faker showing his dominance and his comfort on Galio versus Pawns maybe in uncomfort or not used to the matchup or not always have played the matchup. Faker getting a lot of damage onto Pawn. But Faker has to burn all of his mana for that, remember. And Pawn still has a lot of mana, and Pawn's going to be farming safely with his Q. Going to be getting out barrels too. He's going to be trying to collect all those silver serpent coins, and he is actually holding a barrel just so Faker doesn't want to come up in CS with his auto attacks. Faker missing a minion there too. Going to miss another one here, it looks like. Faker's not going to miss that cannon though. I don't think he did. Didn't let me see it. His cannon minions are so important. So actually the let's count right now. 1, 2, 41, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30 to 30 to 41 is 11 CS. Yeah, Maokai's a little bit ahead, but it's not more than a pink word. It's about 75 gold. Maybe 100 gold. But Shogoth just feasted on a minion. He's going to be starting to get up those feast stacks. And then we see some other things coming out. Tristana backs for a BF sword, pink ward. Tom Kench has his upgraded. Tom Kench has Targons, and he has Sightstone. Faker has some cooldown reduction and extra mana. Looks like Pawn's probably going to get a Sheen in a second. There it is. And he also gets boots. That's nice. Callista has tier 2 boots. And I think Thresh hasn't upgraded his Targons yet. Do these look different to you? They look different to me. Where's Jarvan right now? Jarvan's going to be getting a second red buff right now. Just spawned. And Gragas also getting his blue buff. So remember, Gragas has first blood, but Peanut is a little bit ahead in terms of experience just because of his jungle pathing and the fact that he got a super leash. Score actually passing over the second blue buff of the game to Gangplank, so that Gangplank is able to continuously abuse Faker, have lower cooldowns on these barrels, start farming these silver serpents. I think he messed up on that barrel. I think he was supposed to kill those melee minions, but and that may be just because he doesn't play Gangplank that much. I don't know. Remember, I don't watch that much LCK, so I don't know how many of these players are familiar with their champions or what champions are famous for some of these players. But I do know what these champions do and they're supposed to do. So blue buff is going to be passed over to Faker to match the pawn blue buff, and so that Faker can farm safely with his Q. Those Winds of War are really strong. They take out the backline minions, and then you can use them on the frontline minions and use your passive to take those out too. Great wave clear. The only problem is the wave clear involves melee, so you can't wave clear the melee minions from range. It's always going to be partly due to his passive. Ooh, damage coming out there on Faker from barrels. Peanut's going to be looking for something in the mid lane here. But no. See, this is just proper lane positioning by Pawn because he's positioned to his top side where he knows Gragas is, and he has vision all throughout the river there, whereas he doesn't have vision here, so he's positioned on this side. And Faker matches that by positioning what's the word? Opposite of him. So Faker's on this side where he has more vision and his jungler is. Things are calming down. These are some pretty slow games. I prefer it that way, but I prefer it that way because it's proper League of Legends. But it's not exactly full of exciting things or mistakes to point out. There are definitely lots of little mistakes. I mean, everybody could have better CS. Everybody could be probably pathing better. The junglers could be looking for more. I mean, we looked at the gank in top lane. Whoa, whoa! And that's why Kallista's fucking retarded. She just jumps out of Jarvan's ult. And this is probably why KT actually prioritized the Kalista and Thresh. But look how out of position Kalista ends up being, and she still is not punished for it. Flashes behind Deft, throws out the Buster shot, gets the Lantern. Jarvan ults her, but she just auto attacks and jumps out with her passive, and she lives. Anyway, great play by Deft and Mata, but definitely great try by Bang and Peanut. I wish my players used Tristana like that. That's how Tristana should be used. Faker messed up there. What was he doing? He fucked up the race. He could have stole those. Oh man, that's depressing. Things are just not going his way this series so far. Trying to get damage where he can, and he actually used his W there to take reduced damage from Gangplank's Q. Very interesting. Scorer actually invading the enemy jungle. Peanut goes ahead and he places a pink ward on his blue buff. Leaves that ward there. Faker just trying to get damage where he can off onto Pawn. He's playing this matchup really well, from what I understand. He is up a couple minions, 6, and he's not letting Gangplank abuse him. But remember that Gangplank will eventually start to ignore a lot of armor, and therefore ignore a lot of ignore these super tanks and do way too much damage. Ooh, Score gonna be flash E-ing onto Peanut. Here comes the hero's entrance from Faker to disengage. But after those cooldowns are used, KT says, "All right, you have no heroes engage, and you have and Jarvan's not exactly ready, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the dragon." Peanut uses the red plant to move in the dragon pit, and the teleport is going to be coming out from Maokai. The teleport's coming out from Cho'Gath as well. There's no hero's entrance, but Faker is in the back lane. He gets the taunt. The Maokai ult comes out. Wolf is back in there, but not enough damage is going to be coming out. Antara is going to be capitalized on since he's going to be out of position now too. Bang's not able to move forward because he doesn't want to be jumped on as well. So think about this from SKT's perspective, because I don't think they understand that they can't contest this dragon. And I don't know why they don't understand that they can't contest this dragon, but let's take another look at SKT's team comp, and let's do it as this fight breaks out. I think a good place to stop is when both of these teleports come in. So let's look at the positioning. We're going to see a Maokai here, and we're going to see a Cho'Gath here. Now Bang is actually over here, and let's ask who has damage on SKT, and the answer is Bang and Peanut. They are the primary damage dealers of SKT, and when this fight is engaged, Bang is not in a position in which he's ready to take the fight. Bang would actually be much more comfortable if he was over here, or even over here. But Bang had to come from bot side. So another way that this fight could have taken place is when Faker moves in here, Faker actually moves back towards Wolf, and Wolf and Faker are going to converge about right here, and then Maokai converges right here, and Peanut's able to dive over and jump over here. So he's able to EQ ult to here and ult whoever he needs to in this location. And then Bang's able to stand behind Wolf, Peanut, and Maokai. Now, this was the ideal situation for SKT. Would SKT win if they did that? This is a great question. No. Cyrus, why are you telling us what SKT needs to do? I'm telling you that the fight could have been much closer, and it could have been giving gold to both SKT and KT, and creating it was a high risk situation for SKT. And if SKT was going to do this, they would also be finishing the dragon, because they would have this front line here, and Bang would be hitting the dragon here, because the dragon does get pretty low. Bang actually ends up doing it. It gets down to about 1,000 health, but Peanut chooses to engage. Peanut actually misses his EQ combo, so that's half of Peanut's damage. So the rest of damage of SKT is, I mean, so there's some damage on Winds of War, but it's all Bang. And if Bang's not able to have damage output, then there's no reason for SKT to be fighting. And the only reason for SKT to even be here is to secure Dragon. Oh my god. So they don't get the dragon, and they lose 2 people. So this could have been a lot better from SKT. SKT is not really playing this series very interestingly, but I don't know. They're just not performing. They're not making the macro play decisions that I would expect them to make. And their drafts are kind of funky too. Like I like their draft, but I don't like a protect the Tristana comp. I don't support a protect the Tristana comp because I think a protect the Kog'Maw comp is 1,000,000 times better. I mean, he has way more damage. And if you're going to run nobody else on your team with damage, why not run the highest damage ADC you possibly can? Wow, actually, if he didn't throw that sapling, he might not have gotten hit by that rupture. That was really depressing. So SKT's 2,000 gold behind. No towers have been taken yet. We see that Galio's going for early Frozen Heart. That's a really interesting build path because it's going to hurt Callista. And it's also going to help him against the Gangplank. But since Gangplank ignores so much armor, it's nice to build a lot of health against him too. Faker engaging on the pawn, trying to get score off of their blue buff. They don't want that blue buff to be stolen. Looks like it's going to be passed off to Faker again. Yep. So we see that KT has rotated bot lane, mid lane. You see, my issue with the current game state. State of the game. And I'll probably end up denoting state of the game like that. So the state of the game right now is that SKT has no pressure. The only thing that they have that's a benefit for them right now is that Tristana is able to push towers very quickly. The thing is, like, if SKT is going to look for a play, it's going to look similar to when Bang ulted, Flash Buster shotted Deft, and that led into Peanut's ult. And that would be and they would try to catch out Pawn or Deft. And they can't really do anything else. They have no tempo. Whereas KT, they have the push in top, mid, and they can force the push in bot. And they'll probably end up forcing the push in bot when Callista finishes Blade of the Ruin King. That's probably what you're gonna see. Ooh. Looks like Bang's going to be going for the build that I really like this game, which is the 2 damage items, because he's got Brawler's Greaves here, so he's probably going to get the Zeal before IE, which I think is better, but I still have to look at the IE Berserker's Greaves. I have to look at that build. What else is happening for KT? KT is Rach's Glory. They're able to hard engage with Cho'Gath. They're able to hard engage with Score on Gragas. And Gragas Flash is like a minute off cooldown, or about a minute and a half off cooldown. or no, 115, because it's gonna be coming up soon. It's about a quarter of the way up. So, and then you also see that Gangplank is gonna finish Trinity soon, which is a big power spike for him. And then he's gonna be going for like Static, and Infinity Edge himself. And if they're able to reach that kind of power spike, and they're going to be able to do it before Tristana gets 3 items. I just wrote TNA. I apologize. Then you're going to see a game over for SKT. Because SKT is all about the Tristana right now, and they have no tempo, and they can't do anything with it. SKT looking for something bot lane. Peanut just going for a recall. Mata's going for a recall, so Deft is playing safe. Deft very comfortable with being in the lane alone. Smeb's actually up 30 minions. Because once, I did say in draft, once Smeb hits level 6 on Cho'Gath, he has a large advantage on Maokai just because it's very strong. Because Maokai's not going to be at his like hyper late game where he's invincible. So he's been using that advantage and pushing in and getting a big CS lead. He's almost at 40 CS. That's incredible. Peanut really just hovering lanes. Faker trying to get as much harass onto Pawn as possible. Gragas going for the Rift Herald. This is going to be really nice because they're going to get a feast stack onto Gragas. Or not into a feast stack onto Gragas. No, a feast stack onto Cho'Gath. That is not a minion. So now that KT has secured Rift Herald, and they could do so, remember, they were able to secure Rift Herald for free because top lane is winning and mid lane is winning, which means if all of these converge, if every single champion converges for a 3v3, KT wins no matter what. So there's no reason for SKT to contest it, and if they were going to contest it, actually, Tristana and Tom Kench should have rotated top lane, because having the Tristana around the Rift Herald would have been more efficient. But I think that they wanted to keep Tristana bottom lane because they wanted to try and make a play on this side of the map while Gragas was on the top side so that they're able to push Deft out of lane or kill Deft and then focus on the first blood tower. So there were two options for SKT, and I don't think they're successful with either. But you do see that Tom Kench and J4 are about to look for a ult behind Deft and Mata right now. But they don't go for it. So SKT, they had two options. They weren't successful with either of them. One of them they just chose not to do, and the other they're just not successful with. Because they need to get first blood tower before KT gets first blood tower. And the easiest way to do that would be on the bot lane tower where it's already half health. Peanut engaging onto Gragas here. Here comes the ult. Score actually flashes out. Does not want to deal with that. And then we see that the J4 ult is out. Mata trying to get a hook on the wolf, but no, did not hit. That's annoying. Pawn chasing Faker into the jungle, but does not want to get collapsed on by J4. Although it wouldn't be too bad if Pawn gets collapsed on by J4, actually. This is a one fight. They can win this fight. 2v2. Because Faker's already at half health. Pawn has finished Triforce, and he has serrated Dirk. And Peanut is actually full defense right now. He has Cinderhulk. So Peanut really does not have that much damage. So I'm pretty sure they win this 2v2. And they're able to force it. And even if they can't force the 2v2, they can take away Wraiths. So Dragon just spawned. So bot lane being bot lane is still useful again. And we might see some pressure around this dragon, but it's just a water dragon. I wouldn't be surprised if SKT gave it up. You might see Peanut go for a smite steal. Nope, no cigar. The Galio ult is going to come in, but that was not very useful. The Maokai ult hits 4 people, but that's not very useful. This game's kind of over for SKT. And that's going to turn into 4,000 because they're going to get this tower and First Blood tower. Yeah, this is a 4,000 gold lead for KT. 4,500. So SKT is at tipping point. So SKT is not allowed to make any more mistakes. Because if they make any more mistakes, there's absolutely no way that they could win the game. Wow, that's going to be a 5,200 gold lead, or 5,400 or something. Yeah, wow, that is insane. Oh man, oh the Rift Herald's gonna hit the inhib tower too. Not too much damage. Does not get the 25 gold from the Rift Herald. Unfortunate. So this is really bad for SKT. Actually, I would say with this 5,300 gold lead and the current state of SKT's base, I don't think SKT can win because the game it's a 5,300 gold lead and it's at 20 minutes. And Tristana just now finished her first item. So, and let's look at SKT's base. So if you look at their base, it looks like this, while KT's base still looks like this. So this is what your base normally looks like. Which means that when KT has the push in bottom lane, the minions are going to push up in the bottom lane like this. And here, I'll draw it. We can draw a big square, and then it just has, it's just 4 triangles. It's not a very complicated map design, guys, but it is a very nice one. So if SKT has towers here, but they don't have these, and we know we have all the outer towers here and the inner towers as well. So if KT has minions going this way, and they're aimed at the inhibitor tower, and they even have, say, Cho'Gath like standing right here, and Cho'Gath just finished this minion wave, so it's pushing forward. SKT has to respond to this tower because they don't want that tower to be going, because losing an inhibitor tower means they can probably lose the inhibitor for free if KT groups up for the inhibitor. But now, because someone's responding in bot lane, So KT has one bot lane and SKT has one bottom lane. Cho'Gath does not have teleport, but later he will have teleport. So KT can 3 this lane and 1 this lane. Where Gangplank will split the side lane, and you'll see Kalista, Thresh, and Gragas go in the mid lane. Or you could see them switch. It does not actually matter whether or not you put 3 top lane or 3 in the mid lane. Usually you would put 3 in the mid lane because if SKT makes a horrible mistake, you can get this inhibitor. You can rotate bottom lane for the inhibitor. But generally you would not expect your opponents to make such horrible mistakes. So now they're going to have, because they're winning the lane with Gangplank, Gangplank pushes on this tower, and they use 3 to push on this tower, and when Cho'Gath has teleport, Cho'Gath can push in this lane, attract someone here, and teleport onto a tower, and force one of these towers down, and then people have to respawn to this tower, and they have to move up to the top lane, and you get the point. KT can force the end of the game with their current gold lead, which is why I'm going to start skipping ahead. You're going to also see KT... Ooh, hold on. I don't want to miss anything exciting. You're also going to see KT start to prioritize this Baron, because again, they have the Kalista and the Cho'Gath, so they have... Their Baron is unstealable. So pawn pushes Faker back, and they rotate up, and they get the tower for free. They're going to do the same thing in mid lane. It's kind of hard to see how much damage Faker's taking because of that magic shield that he has. Whoa, engaged by Mada to Antara. Gangplank ult comes out. Not really necessary. Okay, nothing exciting. Now that KT has major cooldowns down, they have the box, the Kalista ult, and the Gangplank ult. Now that these are all down, they're not going to be doing anything for a little while. They do have the Gragas ult, but really they're just waiting for Cho'Gath to push in. Because look, watch, Cho'Gath now has the push, and Cho'Gath's rotating up. And now that Cho'Gath's rotating up, someone has to respond to the push in the bottom lane, because this is going to start slow pushing into the tower, and it's going to be a huge wave. So you see Maokai bottom lane, and now Cho'Gath comes mid lane, and now they have 4 mid lane, but SKT only has 3. And Bang has to back anyway, so SKT only has 2. And now this tower is completely free. And you're seeing this gold lead get larger and larger. Now you see 7,400. That's the gold lead. Yeah, this game is... SKT can't come back. So you're going to see them do the same thing that they did with the outer towers to the inner towers by pushing in bottom lane. Or they're just going to go for Baron. Because they're so far ahead. They can force Baron at their leisure. Baron at their leisure. And there's the Baron. Looks like SKT is going to be looking for it, but it was the Rend, and then the Cho'Gath ate it. SKT might be looking for a Hail Mary play. I mean, they engaged. There's the Galio ult, going to catch a couple people. Smeb inside of the Jarvan ult, but he is so tanky with Gargoyle, Stoneplate, and everything. He is going to get taken down. Can Score make it out? Yeah, I guess he's fine. Oh, it's another teleport. Oh no, it was canceled because pawns in the mid lane already. Okay, so KT fight go to Baron. They get Baron and they lose Cho'Gath, which that may have just been like mispositioning or misfighting. Let's go watch it. Okay, so Def's on the Maokai, Faker's really tanky. The thing is, KT, in order to fight, have 2 win conditions. The first and most obvious win condition is to somehow kill Tristana. And they have a lot of resources to kill Tristana. Don't get me wrong. They have the Gangplank ult into the Gragas ult into the Cho'Gath ult, and Cho'Gath has silence. So they have a lot of resources to kill the Tristana. The second win condition is Gangplank being able to set up barrels properly. And this is most easily acquired when they're sieging or they're anti-sieging. So during a siege that is initiated by either party. Okay. So that's not that hard. Anyway, KT go ahead and they go pick up their, or well, Gragas starts the dragon, recalls, and Callista goes to go do the dragon anyway. That's the replay of the fight. What is KT doing with this Baron buff? They have about 1.5 minutes on Baron, but they do have this huge wave top lane, and now Cho'Gath's going to be pushing in bottom, so they're pressuring this top lane tower and the mid lane tower, and Cho'Gath's going to reach the inhib tower about the same time that they probably secure both of these towers. So they rotate top, they get that tower, they engage a little bit. Wow, they actually... Whoa, look at Wolf here. Wolf was not able to pop his E. That's unfortunate. Faker being dragged in, gets a 4-man taunt. Tries to flash away, but the Ren's going to eat him here in a second. There it goes. And now that SKT has lost members, the game's going to end pretty shortly. KT playing very safely. Yeah, none of this is really interesting to me because it's stuff that you just assume will happen. Like there's the Gangplank ult. Cho'Gath literally ate Jarvan for half of his health bar. Antara re-engages, but Antara is not tanky enough yet. Wolf is not tanky enough yet. And Bang just doesn't have the damage output. And there's the full ace. So SKT they have to really look at their drafts because they need to be more careful with these drafts, like giving away Zac in game 1 and then drafting a Protect the Tristana comp in game 2. It seems really odd to me. Kokoma, the genius himself. All right. Well, I'm going to take a break, and I'll come back and I'll be recording game 3 as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.